Well, the Democrats continue to melt down all over again because this time their narrative has completely blown up in their face, where they insist on being on the wrong side of every single 82 issue. This one is really one that has been a big problem for them a long time, and this is DEI, where they want to call diversity, equity, and inclusion. And the issue with this is more than anything else is that this promotes people based on the color of their skin, not based off the merit of their actions. And so, of course, this puts the wrong people in the wrong spots and causes a lot of problems, like it did, as we're going to expose right now in Texas, we have suffered from all the flooding. As the Democrats, they immediately tried to start out and they tried to blame Donald Trump for all of it, as the Democrats have been all for the federal government bringing in $5 trillion and then spending $7 trillion, and then you're never allowed to ask where that money goes. It doesn't matter if it gets fraud, it doesn't matter if it gets wasted, and it certainly doesn't matter if there's corruption. Not to the Democrats. To the Democrats, the government is God. So therefore, because the government can do no wrong in the Democrats' mind, then you're not allowed to question it. But question it we shall. And when you have something like this that goes against their narrative, to the Democrats, they start at the end. And they go in the end and they decide, well, the America is evil and America is bad. And America needs to be brought to its knees because capitalism and profit and all those other things that just made the greatest society in the world somehow the worst society in the world. But of course, that is absolute nonsense. And then when they go to that end, now they have to go work backwards. See, this is the dark side of Marxism. Is because when you find out that it doesn't work, well, then they have to slander you and try to shut you up. And that's exactly what they did here with the Texas floods. As they tried to hide a big piece of what happened, and we're going to expose that today. And understand that this all starts with DEI as we walk through this story, meaning what they call diversity, equity, and inclusion, but really what it is didn't earn it. Is people who get put in their position based on the color of skin as opposed to the merit, as fundamentally a part that we can be. The thing they have to do when something like this happens is they try to get ahead of the story. So how do they do that? Of course, through all their friends with fake news and all the Democrats, and they'll just immediately blame Trump. They don't care if it's true. They don't care if they have a single point of evidence whatsoever. All they care about is the narrative has to fit their objectives. And if it doesn't fit their objectives, then they ignore it. And if they can't ignore it, then they lie about it. So this goes right back to Donald Trump and all his doing that he's trying to bring our government back through the border bill, through deportations, through tariffs, and using all this to make America great again and make our country first. The last thing that the Democrats want when their whole worldview is that America is bad, America is evil, and America needs to be brought to its knees because America has blood on its hands. So therefore, for them to be right, America has to fail. And then when America fails, then you have to give the Democrats your power so that they can decide what is right and what is wrong. See their entire worldview. When Donald Trump is winning and Donald Trump is all the things he's doing is working, now they have to try to deny and they try to look for any little thing and they lie about it. And it's ghoulish. It's absolutely sick and it's absolutely disgusting that you have this tragedy that happened in Texas. The flood that took all those innocent lives. And they try to use that to go after Donald Trump because he is bringing your government back like he promised to do. He is getting rid of all the fraud and waste and corruption through Doge and through Drain the Swamp. See, no one's cutting Medicaid and no one's cutting Social Security to anyone who should have it. Where it's being cut is the fraud, the waste, and abuse. And the Democrats know that, but they think they can get away lying because they have for such a long time. And now that they have gotten caught, they of course do what they always do. They pretend that they are a victim, just like Jasmine Crocket, who I really hope the Democrats think she's the future of the party. What we're going to find out now is that they had a DEI fire chief, before I play this clip, who he is in that position because of the color of his skin. Now, I don't care what color someone's skin is. If they're the best person for the job, then they should have it. See, that's the difference in our side and their side. But on the Democrat side, what they look at this is that if your skin's the right color, they use DEI as an excuse to bring in radical liberals up into power in positions that they never would have had in the first place because they couldn't earn it. That's the only reason for this institutional racism of DEI to exist. But of course, they can't admit that to any of you. So when something like this comes up, what do? Every single time? They pretend they're a victim because according to Jasmine Crocket, all these people who died this weekend is all about her.
So anyway, I just wanted to jump on because my heart is truly heavy for all of these families. The sad part is I think that my heart is going to carry a level of weight that will continue to weigh me down as we have to continue to do our best to survive an administration that literally is against us. An administration that is doing everything, in my mind, to hurt us and not help us. And it feels like we're fending for ourselves.
Yeah. Over 100 people have lost their lives, but Jasmine Crockett's all concerned about herself. Yeah, I really pray that the Democrats think it's a good idea to put her on the national stage. Because who do they have left anymore? See, everyone that they have, that they want to be in the leaders in very deep blue, whether it be Jasmine Crockett or AOC or Gavin Newsom, they don't have anyone that can run on the national stage. I mean, Kamala Harris was an absolute disaster, but she can't talk about the reality because the Democrats have to lie, because if they don't lie, if they tell the truth, then you, the American voters, will see what's really happening in our country. When they have $5 trillion come in, and then they have $7 trillion go out, and no one's ever allowed to ask questions why. No one was ever supposed to know that the Treasury was approving $5 trillion and there was no marks on where the money was going. Or all these radical programs that didn't need to exist, funding all these left-wing radical ideologues and all these progressive policies, using your tax dollars to fund it all. Yeah, that's what they can never, ever let you know. They can't let you know how USAID takes your money, gives it to all these NGOs, meaning non-government organizations, but there is nothing about these organizations that is non-government. When you're funded by tax dollars, then you are by definition a government organization, because you now need those tax dollars to perform your duties. And then you have these career useless people put in all these positions of power. See, that's what they can never let you know. And so they lie over and over again. Oh, he's cutting USAID. Well, of course, because of how corrupt it is. Or they're cutting Medicaid, is one of the ones they love, to 16 million or 20 million or 12 million or 25 million, whatever number they're making up today to try to manipulate and scare you. What they have to leave out is all the facts, is that they're not cutting Medicaid to anybody that needs it. They're cutting Medicaid to the people who want to come here illegally to this country. They shouldn't be getting $1 of your taxes anyways. And they're doing requirements for things like Medicaid so that people aren't sitting at home playing video games when they could be out working and producing in society. That's the fraud, the waste, and the corruption they can't tell you about. They also can't let you know that they have promoted all these people that are grossly incompetent because of their DEI. And so we're going to go through it. Now we have the Texas, as they tried to blame on Trump with the money, which was quickly proven not to be true, because the warning staff, they were overstaffed and the warnings went out. So the question then is, why didn't they know sooner, and why weren't they out of there? And this is absolutely shocking and horrifying about what ended up happening, because this DEI fire chief from Austin decided that they were not going to deploy early resources and swimmers. Why? Because it would have costed money. And this gets even worse than that, because he didn't understand how that they get meaning the fire departments, that they get reimbursed. That went over his head. So not only was it an excuse for not sending this stuff out there that could have saved all these lives, but then also on the back end, he didn't understand how his own organization works. See, this is what happens when you hire people based on the color of their skin and not based on their merit. That's the big difference between the left and the right. Because my side, the conservative side, we don't care what color your skin is. And we don't care what your background is. What we care about is, are you the best position for it? And if you are the best, then you should have it. Because we believe in actual merit. See, the merit, when it does, it takes the best and the strongest and the brightest, and it puts them on top. And profit is a beautiful thing. Because when you have profit, that motivates people to do hard work, to put on all the sacrifices and all the efforts, knowing that there's a reward. But the Democrats, when you have it joined in on the government side, see, there is no incentive for profit. How many of you go down to like the DMV and they do absolutely nothing? And there's no incentive to do a better job because everybody's paid the same. In fact, it does the exact opposite of making things better, because then it reduces everybody to the bottom line. So if somebody is bigger, better, smarter, faster, and they should be rewarded, they're not, because everyone's treated equal. See, that's the very dark and evil parts of this Marxist, communist, and the Democrats left, as opposed to our side. There's a reason why the United States is the greatest country this world has ever known. There's a reason why the United States has more billionaires than anywhere else. This isn't a bad thing. This is a good thing. Billionaires employ hundreds of thousands of people. It creates the jobs, it creates the wealth, and it creates futures for you. This is part of bringing back manufacturing is so important to our country. And if it worked in merit and somebody understood the very basics of their job, which, putting the money aside for a moment, that he didn't even understand that they would get reimbursed for one, but how can he even look himself in the mirror? I mean, how is he even not resigned yet? This should be criminal. Over 100 people are dead now because they refuse to do their job. It's beyond despicable. It's vile and evil. That is exactly what it is. Children and people are now dead because of their actions. And of course, the Democrats don't want to take any responsibility for this. They know, they instead just want to try to blame Trump, right? It's not our fault. We didn't do anything, and you're not allowed to look. If you do, then you're a racist, and you're a bigot, and you're a homophobe, and you're a transphobe, and you're a white nationalist, and you're extreme MAGA Republican. They have to lie over and over and over again. And this is why one of our big fights is to end DEI, as it is institutional racism. And we just showed it's much, much worse than that, because it uses the excuse of racism to put people into positions that they never should have been in the first place. Well, that's just the start. It is also the racism of the Democrats and their low expectations. That the Democrats have the nerve to tell you, because of the color of your skin, that you can't achieve. How dare they? You have agency over your life. I don't care what your background is. I don't care what your skin color is. You have hopes and you have dreams and you can achieve them. It's certainly not easy. It's very, very hard to have success. But if you work hard and you have a plan, you set goals, you can achieve your dreams here in the United States. There is nowhere in the country, anywhere else in the world, where you can have more opportunity than you have in the United States. Now, there is nowhere ever in the history of the world than there is right now where you have more opportunity than anybody else has ever had. The power is in your hands. Okay, I don't care what color your skin is. I don't care if you're male or you're female. The Democrats' nerve to tell you that you can't achieve because of your skin should piss you off to no end, because it's an abject lie. It is simply not true. And it's a lie to told so that you will be subservient victims to the Democrats who are the villains. So I hope you take this lesson with you, because we are fighting this fight. We are fighting the end to the DEI. We are fighting the fight to end institutional racism, and we are winning all over the country now. which hopefully more and more conservatives realize is we can't sit back anymore and we can't just be in our own corners. As part of the conservative nature is just not to get involved. Unfortunately, we have very low voting rates, and that is for several reasons. But one of them, I think, is just that we have jobs. All right, we go to work, right? We have families, we raise our kids, and we have a lot more going on in our lives. We're not sitting at home on the government's tit, listening to fake news and getting pissed off about nothing that doesn't exist. I think then the other side of that is, unfortunately, we have a really big rhino problem on our side of the fence. And they have been lying to you for a very long time, where they'll go in front of the TV and they'll go on X or they'll go anywhere else they can get in front of a camera and they will say all the right things, right? All the things that you want to hear. Yeah, we're going to defund the government. Yeah, we're going to get Fauci. Yeah, we're going to build the wall, right? And you're all like, yes, let's do it. And then they go into Washington, D.C. after you vote for them, and they do none of those things. That's why we call them rhinos, these neocons, Republicans in names only. And they've had a stranglehold on our country for more than 30 years. But now, thanks to Trump, that is finally ending. And you're seeing what happens when you actually have a politician that does what they said they were going to do, and they go and they fight for you, the American voters, because this is exactly how it works. If you want to see how our Constitution is supposed to work, look nothing more than Donald Trump's administration. As he said he was going to do all these lists of things. And now he's in the president of the United States, and now he is doing all the things that he promised. The Epstein black eye, we've covered that for the last few days. But he's doing what he said he's going to do. He's building the wall. He brought in DOGE. He is deporting all these illegal criminal aliens, and he's using tariffs to put America first and to bring manufacturing back. And now he's helping to force end all these DEIs. Like the University of Wisconsin-Madison is closing their DEI, and T-Mobile is now scrapping all this DEI programs. Okay, these are all wins that we need to celebrate as we continue to take our country back. And with that, I am over on a break. When we come back, we have a lot more to go through, including CNN, the fake news networks, have been busted lying again. And we also have more, as we have some more huge wins in court today, as we have gone and we've defeated more of the woke mind virus. You're not going to miss that or anything else. We'll be right back after this brief, greedy profit break. This is the CASHLOREN Show. One thing we fight against all the time here is the fake news networks. Whether it be MSNBC, CNN, ABC, NBC, New York Times, LA Times, Washington Post, Political Axios, every single one of them are in the bag for the DNC. They are all Democrat activists. When they lie and they try to pretend that they're journalists, they have lost all their influence because they've lied to you so many times. And that has led to the rise of these independent creators, like here on the CASHLOREN Show. And I just want to take a moment to say greetings, folks. It's such good to be with you as we continue to grow. And now we're on TikTok, so everyone, so welcome on our shows over here. And then we're going across more YouTube, and we've added Kick, and we've added Rumble, and all the other places to help spread an American First message. As here, like on the CASHLOREN Show, we will shine a bright red light and expose the Democrats, fake news networks, and all their lying to you, the American people, every single hoax. This has led to the rise of the independent creators, and we're going to have one right here. As whole first segment, we were talking about the flood in Texas and all the devastation that it caused, and all the poor people who lost their lives. And this tragedy that happened, the Democrats immediately jumped in on it, and the first thing that they tried to do was they tried to blame Donald Trump for cutting the federal government. But what they won't tell you is he's not cutting these essential services. In fact, the services that were there were there more than there was required to be. In fact, some of them were overstaffed at the time. And it was really came down to what should have been a fire chief who was hired for his DEI. And then he didn't understand the very basics of his job, as he should have dispatched out to that area early, but he didn't want to because of budgets. And he didn't do it also because he didn't understand that they would get reimbursed anyways. But this is what happens when you hire people based on the color of skin instead of their competence, as he is going to explain here once he gotten this job that he did not earn.
Important is I'm not the last African American fire chief. That's more important than being the first.
Chief Baker now.
Right. So it's all skin color to them, right? The racist left. It's all based on identity politics, not on your merit. So that's what's important.
Oversees 49 stations and around 1,200 employees. He says his goal for the department has changed over time, but one has stuck through it all.
One of my goals is really to increase the diversity of the Austin Fire Department. It needs to reflect more of the community we serve, because I believe the youth of the Austin, youth in general, you will be what you see. So for those young African American, young Latinos, or people in the Asian community or the LGBT community, they see more firefighters that look like them and have.
Yeah, it's all about representation. That's what really matters. It doesn't matter if they can actually do their job or save people's lives. Not to the left, not even a little bit. It's all identity politics. And as long as you check all the right boxes, then you should be rewarded, not based on your merit. I mean, what does merit have to do with anything anyways? I mean, who cares if hundreds of people lost their lives because he couldn't do his job? He is stunning and brave. And now he's facing a no confidence vote from his union. But this could have all been avoided. And this is why we must end DEI. This is like all the fires that happened in California, when of course they did the exact same thing then, is they tried to blame Donald Trump. When you find out that there's not water, and then their fire department, who were they hiring up in the fire department? Right? LGBTQ plus, right? All the same old identity politics. Instead of hiring the most merit and the low expectations of racism and all that stuff that we just got into. But we're going to go in now to the fake news networks on CNN, because they're doing the same lies like Jasmine Crocket did earlier. So it's all mad lips to them. It's all, they just have like the sentences in the middle, and then they just change the specific words in it, right? It's racist for you to do blah, 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 right? You're a white nationalist if you blah, 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 blah. And here, because they're Democrat activists and the Democrats themselves, and then the fake news have all decided that it's very bad to cut the government. And so anything that happens, they immediately want to blame Trump because he's cutting the government. So here's CNN Politics lying on their page. They're saying FEMA response to the Texas flood slowed by NOM's cost controls. You will never hate these people enough. It's really not possible. I mean, I read these and I shouldn't even be shocked anymore. But they keep continuing with the exact same things that they did right here, blatantly lying. Like we just showed, it was the DEI fire chief, and you had no mention of that in CNN's article, right? I wonder why they left that part out. Why do they tell you the parts they want you to hear, but not the other parts? And then also FEMA, but did CNN go after FEMA for like North Carolina? Or not under Joe Biden? But this is blatant lying, as it's fake news live from CNN. These people are not journalists, they are activists. Because like we covered and they're lying about, is that these weather areas were staffed and some were overstaffed. And within moments of the flooding, DHS, including the U.S. Coast Guard, Tactical Border Patrol units, and FEMA personnel all were already on the scene. In fact, they have saved over 230 people. I don't know how you can ever hate these people enough. As they go on, FEMA deployed over 311. Donald Trump approved the major disaster response within hours. That was our side. But the Democrats, they can't give a win. They don't care. Because all they care about is power. And the only thing that holds the Democrat Party together is their hatred. And they really are the party of miserable women and weak men. And they're all angry and they're all furious and they're all enraged. That's their entire worldview. I mean, the way that they look at our great country is that it is just unforgivable. It's evil. That we've had it good for far too long. And they can't stand when they have to pretend like they somehow respect our flag or our Constitution, which they only pretend to do if they think they can gain an advantage of it. It wasn't that long ago, I believe it was the Democrats who were calling our Constitution a living document. that they could just weave in and out based on how they see fit. And when that has all failed, the next thing they go to is their activist judges. And this goes into probably one of the most 1984 things I've seen in recent years. This being George Orwell, was like 2 + 2 = 5. And if you're guilty of wrongthink, if you're not guilty of what the party, he calls it, of thinking the way they tell you to think, then you must be punished. You must be bad. Doesn't that sound exactly what the Democrats say all the time? When they try to use like DEIs we've been covering, and if you dare to call it out, well, then you're a racist. You're a racist for noticing that the Democrats are being racist and putting people in positions that they haven't earned based on the color of their skin. That somehow makes them a racist. That somehow makes you a racist. That's the woke mind virus. And they're trying to enforce it through social pressure and through these judges. You see this a lot more in Europe, but they're trying to bring it here. And they tried very hard. Do you remember that was Mary Poppins lady who almost came in charge of misinformation and disinformation and hate speech, right? Another radical leftist ideologue. And she wanted to use the government to silence people that she didn't like. And luckily that failed. The Democrats are very open about what they're trying to do to people. And this all came over a meme that this one guy posted about Hillary Clinton. So this is the meme here, and it says, avoid the lines, vote from home. Text Hillary to 599, and it comes up with a number. Yeah, that was the number. And the Biden's DOJ wanted to throw him in prison over this. Now let's take a look and let's see what Hillary Clinton has to say about what she thinks should happen if you say something that she doesn't like.
Trump back in 2016, but I also think there are Americans who are engaged in this kind of propaganda. And whether they should be civilly or even in some cases criminally charged is something that would be a better deterrence, because
that they should be civilly or criminally charged. Not for breaking any laws, for saying something that they don't like. They want to throw you in prison. How dare you think for yourself? I mean, these are the Democrat elites. Right? These are the ones with Ivy League degrees. They are smarter than you. They are more educated than you. I mean, they're just so arrogant. It's almost like a slime that comes off them. But they think that way. And it comes out like that does occasionally, where they think that they have the natural born right to rule over you. And through their false sense of morality, which just changes with the day, they think that they can lie and they can say anything at any time, and that they just get to decide what is right and what is wrong. Just like that meme there, they decide that was bad. The law was broken. None. But it hurt Hillary Clinton's feelings. And you're not allowed to do that, especially with the Hillary Clinton, who she went and she made this Russia hoax. I mean, it was her that paid for it. And then you had Brennan, and you had Comey, and you had Schiff, and they were all running with this Russia for years. They all knew it was a lie, and they were all running with it the entire time because they paid for it. They created it out of thin air. There was never Russia interference in our elections. Not then and not now. But they are liars, plain and simple. And they get to decide what is right and what is wrong. And so Hillary Clinton, she gets to make up Russia. Why? Because Trump is the bad, mean orange man. And so under their Marxist ideology, because Trump is the mean man, orange man, he's really, really bad, then therefore anything they do is justified. That's why they call you names. That's why they slander you. There's two parts to it. One is to try to silence you into submission. It's a, oh, no, don't call me a racist. I'm not a racist. What do you want? Just tell me what you want. I'll do it. Just don't call me a racist, please. Please, I'm not a racist. I'm really not. You need me to prove you're not racist? Okay, what do I do? Okay, yeah, sure, here. I'll donate to your campaign. I'm not racist, see? Oh, I need to give up my job so someone else can have my job? Sure. Yeah, here you go. Okay, see, I'm not a racist. I'm stunning and brave. The other side of that is, of course, to justify crime. Like trying to frame a duly elected president for a crime he did not commit, or allowing criminals out of prison over and over and over again because they check the right boxes, and then putting in people in prison that don't belong in prison, all because they don't check the right boxes. This is the fundamental of liberalism, of activism, whatever there is of it they are. There's socialism, progressivism, liberalism. All these isms are derived from Marxism. And Marxism always brings about communism. And communism always brings poverty, slavery, and death. But for the ones that are in power, it's really good because they get unlimited power and they get to imprison their enemies and they get to get filthy rich. And they also have the one thing they crave more than money, more than anything else, is they crave the right to rule over you, to have you under their thumb. See, the Democrats, they can't stand your freedoms. They can't stand that you dare think for yourself. They cannot stand for a single second that you would question them. I mean, they shouldn't even have to have elections. They're so smart and they're so right. I mean, why should they be subject to you? They are the elites. They are the betters. They are smarter, better, and wiser than you. And you're just too dumb to understand the very complexities of life. So you have to give up your agency and you have to give up your rights. Also, they can rule over you. I mean, that is the way that the Democrats think every single time. And it gets shown here like they did with these judges. Is that they were these activists who cosplay as judges were willing to throw this person in jail, all because he wrote a memo they didn't want. And to his bravery, to his, I would call it patriotism, he decided not to take a part and fight this. And he won in the second court. And now it's going to get thrown out through the second district. Good. This is another win for America because Donald Trump's administration is going to continue to win if we continue to fight back. And speaking of winning, we got a whole lot more to cover. Clearly, what happened in our economy today is all the panicans are losing their minds again because everything that Donald Trump said was going to do is happening. And all these so-called experts that, experts say, the science says, are being proved wrong again. We're going to cover that and a whole lot more when we come back from this greedy profit break. You're not going to miss any of it. This is the CASHLOREN Show. Well, the experts have lost all their influence. I mean, who anymore believes anything they say? As that wasn't very long ago, the exact opposite was true. We were told to trust the experts, that they had their fancy degrees and they had all their experience. And on the outside of that, that seemed reasonable. If somebody has spent their entire lives studying a subject, then they should know a lot about it. And if that is true, then maybe we should sit back and trust them. But the experts, they took that trust and they abused it over and over and over again as they used it to lie to you, the American voters, all to get you to come to a conclusion that you never would have come to if they hadn't been lying to you the entire time. It's unfortunate in some ways because we do want to trust them. Somebody does spend their entire lives, that they know a lot about a subject, and then you want to be able to defer to them because we don't know as much. Like you go to your doctor and you want to trust that when you go to your doctor that they have your best interests at heart. But how would you react if you found out that your doctor was openly and blatantly lying to you? Or if you go to a dentist, right, and you find out, that they were going to charge you for all this work that you didn't need to get done, but you trusted them because they were an expert. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't trust your doctors, you shouldn't trust your experts. I'm just saying when it hits a lot closer to home, it makes a lot more sense. And this happened at the national stage. Especially now, Trump has come back. This is all these economic experts who are trying to tell you that the Trump administration was going to collapse our economy. They lied through their teeth, just like they lied for a very long time. And they still have to continue to learn no lessons as they continue to be exposed to be wrong again. And these deep entrenched bureaucrats like the Fed's Powell, who he thinks that because he is part of the elite, that he is part of the deep state bureaucracy, that he doesn't have to respect the president of the United States, the one that you elected of. In fact, not only does he not think he has to respect him, but he thinks that it is his duty to stand against him. You see, because all the experts said that Trump was going to collapse the economy. So therefore, he has to do everything in his power to make sure that that happens. And how do they do that? Is he refuses to reduce the interest rates, even though they should be down, saving you billions and billions of dollars, not just in tax revenue and not just in the interest that the federal government has to pay, but also in you go to buy a house or you go to borrow money. It all starts with this Federal Reserve. And Donald Trump, he posted this morning, anybody but too late, pal. And this clash is coming to a head. I don't know how much longer Powell's going to be held out, but he is very much going to be gone soon. I don't see any other way, because he is keeping interest rates up, and there's no reason to do so, especially now after tariffs. The excuse that he was using with tariffs has been proven just not to be true. In fact, the opposite is happening. Goods are going down, and tariffs revenue is coming in, just like Donald Trump said. And it goes to the NASDAQ, C78, get to the right slide. As it's showing, the NASDAQ is now is at the all-time high again. See, the panic is, and the experts were wrong again, even with all of them trying to stand in the way of progress. When we talk about Marxism and the left all the time, they start with the end. What is the end? Trump is going to collapse our society. And so then they work backwards that Trump has to collapse our society. And if Trump is not collapsing the economy, then them, to force society to collapse through the economy, they try to sabotage it and then blame Trump, like Powell is doing. But that has backfired too. The thing is, these experts now are being shown that they're not really experts, that they're really just Democrat activists. As another great example, U.S. work boosts, as it shows that 2 million plus native-born Americans have gained jobs, while over 543,000 foreign-born have lost jobs. So exactly like Donald Trump is promising. When you build a wall, you deport illegal immigrants, and you bring manufacturing back to this country. Everything that he said is going to happen is now happening. And the data, now that we're getting more in from the tariffs, are also proving that the experts are wrong again. As inflation is lower than it's been, so interest rates should be lower than it's been. Gas prices are 4-year lows. The eggs hoax, how many of you remember when they tried to lie about the eggs hoax? The fake news doesn't want to talk about that today. I wonder why. And then all the things for 4 more years, tariff revenue is going through the roof. Just like was always been promised from this entire time. Promises made and promises kept. And we fight back and we win. At the end of the day, that's what this always comes down to, because when the Democrats, when they win when they lie better than we tell the truth. And they know that, so they try to move as fast as they can and lie as quick as they can, everywhere they can, with the biggest loudspeaker they can. And then it works over and over again, but ultimately what they're trying to do is they're trying to get you really mad. And they're trying to get you very angry. And that's their one playbook. Okay, this isn't by accident. This is by design. Because they know when you're mad and when you're angry, you're basically just drunk. You no longer think straight. You'll just do anything to make the pain stop. Even though the pain is completely made up by their experts and by the fake news liars. They have to keep that shell, that cover over your eyes so you don't see that they've been lying to you for longer than people have been alive. However far back you want to go, to the federal government expanding and then having the deep state growing bigger for a very long time. And it's always been told it's for your best interest, right? That's why they needed the feds. That's why they needed, to send all your manufacturing overseas. That's why they needed to continue to tax you. And that's why they needed to avoid all these illegal immigrants down into our country. It was always based on a lie. And to help make that lie believable, they had to stop you from seeing the other side, to see what happens when you deport illegal immigrants. You know what happens Americans get jobs. What happens when we actually do our tariffs, like over 170 countries did to us? They lied to you over and over again about that, but Donald Trump stood his ground, and now what's happening? Goods are going down just like it was said, and we're gaining more and more revenue. And now that we're gaining more and more revenue, we can then cut more and more taxes and more government, exactly like DOGE is working on. Now, is the big, beautiful bill perfect? No, it's not. But it's the best thing we've had for a long time. And it's pushed us a lot closer to our goals than it needs to be. And now we need you, the American voters, to continue to fight back, to continue to get out and vote. And get rid of the Democrats are one thing, but more than the Democrats, to get rid of the rhinos. So we have enough votes where we don't have to make these bills weaker and put in a bunch of pork into them that shouldn't have to be in there. This is a long process, and it is a road. And as we continue to expose all these lies to the Democrats, we also expose all the lies from the deep state. Earlier in the subject, we had talked about Hillary Clinton and how they had lied and they had tried to frame Donald Trump from Russia, when they knew the entire time that Russia was completely made up. It was bought and paid for by Hillary Clinton, and the deep state ran with it. You had Brennan and you had Comer, who knew it was fake from the beginning. And even though they knew it was fake, they still ran with it. And then Adam Schiff made up a memo that never, ever existed to lie on every single market, on every single mainstream media fake news that he could. And no one's ever been held responsible for this. And here is John Brennan. He, of course, got to run to fake news to lie to them because he can't go anywhere else. This is how dark fake news is, and what they're so dedicated to being activists for the Democrat Party. Because if they had a single ounce of journalism, they would tell you the truth. But instead, they're more than happy to let Brennan lie to your face to try to manipulate you to come to a conclusion that you never would.
You can't just float your way out of it.
Yeah.
It knocks everything.
That's the wrong one. Let's see, do I have the right one? So that was Bill Nye. Let me check real quick, see if I got it. Okay, there it is. All right, so I put the video in the wrong spot. Okay, so here's the right video. Here is John Brennan with fake news.
That this happened now.
Well, it means, from my perspective, that the women and men of the CIA deserve.
All right, so cover that real quick. She's asking why he's being investigated, and the answer is obvious. Biden's not going to investigate him. Biden wanted Russia. Merrick Garland was not going to go after them. Chris Wray was not going to go after them. But now that it's happening, all of a sudden, of course, what they always do is they always pretend they're a victim, as he's going to explain.
Stronger, better, apolitical, nonpartisan leadership.
I can't believe he has the nerve to talk about apolitical, non-political leadership. Brennan, the one that knew he was lying the entire time and lied for the Democrats to try to undermine the president that you elected for. Apolitical, he says. Nonpartisan. What a freaking hack.
It's such a challenging time of our national security globally with everything that's going on. And it's clear that Mr. Ratcliffe decided that he was going to initiate this, I think, again, to try to satisfy the interest, the urge of Donald Trump, who continues to claim that the assessment of Russian interference in the 2016 election was a hoax. It was not.
They all knew it was a hoax. They knew back then it was a hoax because Hillary Clinton paid for it. The Steele dossier was completely made up. And fake news, they were more than happy to run with the lies. They had no interest in digging any deeper. And it plagued the Trump administration for 2 years until it was finally proven that it was not true. And to this day, he's still trying to go to fake news and lying to it, but he couldn't go anywhere else because only fake news would let him lie like that. Anyone else would immediately call him out on these lies.
It clearly was not. Russia interfered. They tried to help Donald Trump. They tried to hurt Hillary Clinton. They tried to, undermine the democratic foundations of our country in terms of our election integrity. This has been validated over and over.
No, it has not. No, it has not. In fact, the exact opposite. Yeah, he still looks right at the camera and tries to lie to your face. I hope he ends up in prison. Him, Comer, Schiff, all the rest of them, Merrick Garland, Chris Wray, all these other high-level bureaucrats that think they're above the law, that think they get the two-tier justice system, that think they can run to fake news and lie when everyone knows they're lying and still look at you and lie in the face. And then Nicole Wallace sitting there, not a journalist, a Democrat activist, just nodding along, letting him lie to you.
Again, move on, get over it. But clearly, Donald Trump, believes that this is something that I think continues to need to be looked at and criticized. But again, I stand behind the assessment. I think the assessment has stood the test of time. And again, I point to those reviews that were done in a apolitical.
Yeah, he lied to the American voters apolitically. All right, he made up he helped push documents that were not true because that was nonpartisan. You will never possibly hate these people enough. It's so unbelievable that they would sit there and they would lie to the camera like that and then think that they can get away with it. And now he's telling Donald Trump should just move on. I mean, we tried to usurp, meaning them, the Democrat Party, through Comey and through Brennan and through Schiff. They tried to usurp the democratically elected U.S. president with a hoax they knew was lie. And it's very easy because if you just look at the other side. And when they found out that Hillary Clinton paid for it, and when they found out that it was a complete hoax, did they go after Hillary Clinton? No, she just paid a fine. I think it was $15,000 if I remember right. That's all they did, right? No one went to jail. No one was arrested. And I believe, even if I remember correct, you'll let me know, is that it was even the DNC that ended up paying that for her. It's so unreal how deep and corrupt these people are. And then he's willing to sit there and lie to your face. And then you have Comey, the former FBI director, who was doing this. And I still remember that moment when Donald Trump went to shake Comey's hand, and Comey was sitting there pretending to be Donald Trump's friend when he was framing him for Russia at the time, it looks like. And then Comey now, all of a sudden, he's pretending to do with the eggshells or the seashells over the beach. You remember this? When he pretends, oh, hey, look at this. I just happened to magically come up to these shells that say 8647. And then he posts that on Instagram. Okay, a child knows what that means. He knew what he was doing. I don't believe him for a second. I find it very suspicious that the former FBI director happens to come up to 8647 just on the beach magically. Wow. That sure is a coincidence. And then think to take a picture of it and post it on Instagram. And when he gets called out, well, I just deleted it. No, I didn't do anything wrong, according to Comey. I just don't want the appearance. What a just deep state scumbag. Everybody knows what that was. Everybody knows what he's calling for. And this is after at least 2 attempts on Donald Trump's life. Possibly more. I don't think anyone would believe Comey that he would just somehow came up to that. I mean, do you believe for a single second that happened to the FBI director right before he's going to sell a book to the president that he tried to frame for a crime that he didn't commit, that survived at least 2 attempts on his life? That somehow that same FBI director just happens to be walking on the beach, and then he takes a picture, puts it on Instagram, and all of a sudden he's all over fake news networks, talking to every single one of them right before he's going to sell a book. I will let you know. And with that, we're at the top of the hour. We'll be back after a few minutes. We'll be back tomorrow, 8 p.m. Eastern. This is the CASHLOREN Show. Well, independent thinkers, we have come to the top of another hour. The rest of the stories will have to go back in the stack. If you enjoyed this content, take a moment, hit the subscribe, turn on notifications. Most importantly, share a conservative message with your friends and family. We will be back Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern here on the CASHLOREN Show. We will go and we will expose and fight the fake news networks who have been getting away with lying to you for decades. Our content will always be free, but if you'd like to support more, you can do so monetarily over at locals at the CASHLOREN Show. And there's great rewards and benefits for doing so. For only about a cup of coffee a month, you will receive exclusive articles and you'll have your name at the end of the video, just like these other fine patriots have. If that sounds interesting to you, go over to locals right now for just a cup of coffee a month and help independent creators stay free, keep the lights on, and continue to expose the fake news networks. We'll see you again on the next episode. This is the CASHLOREN Show.